Lydia and Israel, here you are. What a journey. You have received your diplomas, and today you are here before God and this church, dedicating your past and your future successes to Christ. But before we go on, I first want to share with you the representative from Sunnydale could not be here today because it's also their graduation weekend. But if you guys would come forward, Sunnydale has awarded each of you a $500 scholarship towards your tuition next year. All right, Lydia, you started at ACA in first grade, and it's been a joy watching you grow into the Christian young lady you are today. You work hard and excel in all your work. Your journaling is reflective and impressive. You have taken on responsibility and have become quite a leader this past year. The younger girls sure look up to you, and you have what it takes to create a beautiful future. Israel, you also have been here since first grade, and I have seen you face a number of challenges. With patience and perseverance. I have watched as you thoughtfully, patiently face challenges like trigonometric ratios or Marvin the goat. You were not fond of reading and writing when you first came, yet your first place veterans essay this year and your journaling reflections attest to your hard work. That steady and consistent way you have will take you places. I look forward to seeing how God leads in your lives and where your path takes you. Keep making those good choices and stay close to Jesus, and He will be faithful to guide you every step of the way.
Good morning, church family and friends. My name is Lydia, and I've attended Andrews Christian Academy from 1st to 8th grade. ACA is a multi-grade school with many different learning levels. The perks about being at the school is that they have hardworking teachers and volunteers. I especially love the lunch ladies. They have my heart. There are other volunteers like art teachers and others who help with kids who need extra help with reading and things like that. The school has many extracurriculars and uplifting field trips. We ministered with our songs and praise at our other churches and music fests. We traveled as a school to Camp Courageous and the school fair. Overall, this school has changed me in many ways that I didn't think it would. Obviously, in a good way. Right. First, I want to talk about the people who made my years somewhat enjoyable. One of my favorite memories are when Miss Shibo, Esther, and I used to go out every summer to go swimming, play tennis, and eat her soggy cookies. To be honest, they were actually really good. There were also times when we would just go to her house to play games and watch movies. A thing about Miss Shibo is that she was also a teacher in South Korea. That made me appreciate her even more. She would cook traditional food at the International Food Festival, and I would ask her questions about her experience. To this day, I still treasure those memories. I hope we never lose that connection. Another person who I love hanging out with is Mama Israel. Her food never ceases to amaze me. She would invite me to her house for Thanksgiving and Christmas for me to taste her cooking. She knows me too well. I love the car rides going home from school. Sometimes she would be on the phone, sometimes she would be singing, and at other times she would ask me about my day and listen to me. She is like a second mother to me. Overall, I love her company, and I'm grateful for her being there for me. I don't know if she's here, but I can't forget about Mama John Marie. This woman, Chai, hey. This woman is one of the best people I have around. I love the way she lives her life, like her food also. She's funny and she has been around us for a very long time. I wish her the best in her days going forward. Family. Family. We all know that we've had our ups and downs, but I'm just going to say that we care for each other in very unique ways. One thing I love about my family is that they give in sometimes when I ask them for food. Some specific sisters will say no and leave it in the fridge for me. Some will say no means no, and some will just straight up give it to me. We love those times. My mom is the most important thing to me. If it wasn't for her discipline, I wouldn't know where I would be. Even though she portrays her love in very interesting ways, I know she wants the best for me. My father also sacrificed. He sacrificed his sleep to take us to school and would always fall asleep in the parking lot. Yeah, that's crazy. My siblings have helped me a lot in this journey. They would sacrifice their sleep to take me to school, aka Imani. Others will communicate with my teachers to figure things out, which is very helpful. Even though you guys think I'm ungrateful and think I'm being rude to you guys, just know that your help and support is not going in vain. Don't we all love our church family? Like, come on, give them hype. They have been here for this church and our school for countless years. They go above and beyond for these kids, and we cannot thank them enough. The people who supported our school by coming over a lot were Miss Crystal, the Andersons, and Miss McScreeney. They really put their time into helping with whatever they could, and that doesn't go unnoticed. Pathfinders was very impactful in my years here. It has helped me with my walk with God and helped me learn a lot about Him. It's character growing and reminds me how our Lord would live. The Pathfinder law is for me to keep the morning watch, do my honest part, care for my body, keep a level eye, be courteous and obedient, walk softly in the sanctuary, keep a song in my heart, and go on God's errands. I know that I'll need these for future references. This will forever stick by me whenever I need it. I have the Cromwells to thank for that. They're the most patient family I have ever come across by. They put up with all sorts of different kids and plan countless trips and meetings. They go the extra mile with the things they do, and they're also supporters with the things we need help with. Mrs. Cromwell, she has no reason for her food to be hidden every single time. I'll never get tired of her food. She would come to cook for us at school mostly on Wednesdays. In my opinion, her signature dessert is the worms and dirt. You will only get it once you try it, in my opinion. Mr. Cromwell is also effortlessly funny. He would do the smallest thing, and I would be on the floor. What I appreciate about Mr. Cromwell is that he drives a van on Mondays and Wednesdays. He would drop by and ask if anyone needs an extra packing list and make sure everything is set out for any trips we would be having. I'll never forget the things they've done for me, and I wish them happiness, whatever they decide to do moving on forward. The beginning of this year was very iffy. My best friend moved away and left me with too many boys. I wasn't motivated to go to school whatsoever. When Mrs. Olson started catching on to my behavior, she put it on my report card, and that made me change my ways real quick. I gaslighted myself into thinking that this year was a test of my patience, which it was. Then I realized that my problems are small compared to the ones that'll be coming next. My walk with God was gradually getting better as I devoted myself to live by Galatians 5:22-23. The fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. My goal from here on forward is to wholeheartedly live by these character traits. Happy Sabbath to you all. Done yet. Lastly, I want to thank the person who I couldn't have done any of this without, Mrs. Olson. So, she has been here since the beginning, and she was there for anything I was needed help with. If it was like family issues or if I was mad at someone, she would take me in the office, and give me life lessons. She would always be there for us, and she would take us out to eat, like this year to Olive Garden, and it's really appreciative, and I really don't want to leave you. And I wish you happiness wherever you go. And Mr. Olson, I hope you guys, God will be with you all.
Good morning and happy Sabbath, church. My name is Israel, and I've attended Andrew Christian Academy for the past 8 years. Today I want to begin with my life story. October 14, 2006 is the day my mom decided to change her life by coming to America as a young 24-year-old immigrant woman leaving Haiti for a better life. Growing up in my early years, times were tough for me and my mom. Bouncing from house to house, walking in the very hot sun, and taking buses to go to the flea market from time to time. I remember one time, it was so hot outside, I was like, God, can we please have a car? This was the part of my life where I was questioning God. I remember seeing one of the kids from my kindergarten class leaving school one day, running to his mother, excited, embracing her, then looking at his father, smiling and waving at him, and his father doing the same back to him, then them driving off and going home. See, that day I asked myself a question most people would be confused about, and that question is, why couldn't I be normal? Normal? Most of you may ask, normal to me back then was a kid with 2 parents, a couple of siblings, and a pet. I wanted to be normal so bad, I used to ask God, why can't I have those things all the other kids have? But thanks to my mom, those questions didn't last long because my mom always kept me happy by making me laugh when I needed it or just gave me the things I want and always telling me times were going to get better. This is one of the reasons I always respected and looked up to my mom. Even without a father being present in my life, my mom always stayed strong, independent. Even through all that, my mom always came through and provided for me all my life and was able to give me good Christian education through all of her years of hard work and dedication to taking care of me. The year 2015 is the year I came to Iowa. Even though it wasn't my plan to come here, it was God's special plan for me to come here. Through God's special plan, I met special people like Mrs. Olson, Mrs. Davis, Mr. Olson, Robert, Mrs. Glacier, Mrs. Crystal, just to name a few. My experience at ACA was a fun and fast journey. Coming here was a whole 180 for me because I ain't know nobody here. It was a major change for me and my family. But as time went on, I ended up adjusting and meeting new people at the school, such as Sharon, Esther, Cecile, Lydia, John, and Jensen. The people that I just mentioned made my ACA experience very fun, and I have a lot of memories with them. One person that made me change the way I acted very quick was Mrs. Glacier. I remember at my old school, I used to be a troublemaker. Then when I saw the punishments kids would get for being bad at ACA, I ended up turning into a peacemaker real quick. Mrs. Glazier would give consequences because she loved us. It took me a few years to realize that. I really appreciate Mrs. Glazier for what she's done for the school and what a difference she's made for a lot of students. I appreciate Mrs. Glazier so much back then, even now. I remember in 7th grade, I would pray for her to come back to the school. Mrs. Glazier is one of my examples in life that you don't know how much you miss something until it's gone. Another person I would like to mention that really helped me a lot throughout my ACA journey is Mrs. Olson. What most people don't realize is that ACA isn't just a school, but more of a family. I realized that through the likes of Mrs. Olson. See, she isn't just a teacher, mother, nurse to her kids, but to many others. I believe that God put special people in your life for certain situations. I believe Mr. and Mrs. Olson were those people for me. The reason I say that is because these people are so humble and down to earth. They have helped me through almost every problem I had, and what they did for me and my family can never be repaid. Whenever I needed advice, help on anything in life, or in need of something, they both always reminded me that they were a call away if I needed anything. People like this are rare to find in life. That's why I'm really appreciative that God put them in my life. They really made my experience at ACA 5 times better. I will always miss the good mornings Mrs. Olson would say when I walked through the door, and the super tight handshakes Mr. Olson would give me when I saw him. I'm really thankful for these two wonderful human beings. I'm really thankful for what these two wonderful human beings did for me. Another family I would like to thank is the Cromwell family. I would like to thank the Cromwell family for making my Pathfinder experience very fun throughout the years. What the Cromwell family did for me to join Pathfinders is extremely amazing. It's something I will always appreciate from the bottom of my heart. They always went the extra step, the extra mile, so a kid can have the Pathfinder experience. By just simply picking up kids from the other side of town or being listening ears when a kid had a problem or covering them when they needed something. But out of all those things that I mentioned, I will always appreciate Mrs. Cromwell's cooking, the fun camporee trips we went on, the cold mornings, the hot afternoons, the mosquito bites, and roasting marshmallows over the fire. Those are the things I know I will look back on and laugh at or probably miss. Another person I would like to mention before he comes up here is Robert. Robert made my ACA experience very fun too. Many of you guys know Robert, and many of you guys know the way he expresses his love is through tough love. By nagging you or just doing simple things to make you laugh. That's why I really appreciate him. My ACA experience was a ride I will never forget, and it's something I always keep within my heart. Some memories I will never forget is Noah and Kervison being funny in class, the girls laughing and screaming from the top of their lungs when they're at lunch, me schooling Robert in basketball from time to time, and Abel getting frustrated at his teammates when he's playing basketball. And many more memories like. These memories made me realize that in life you should sit down and enjoy the moment while it lasts, because those funny memories don't last forever. I know I'm going to miss those memories at the school, but as one door closes, another one opens for another journey. Through the guidance of Mrs. Olson and so many others, I'm proud to say I'm ready for a new journey and to have a better walk with God. May God bless you all, church family. I know I already mentioned him before, but I'd like to introduce him before he comes up. That person is Robert. Robert has helped out the school in many ways over the years, not only by teaching gym, but driving the van or helping kids out when they need it and giving kids advice. So Robert, here's the stage.
Good morning, happy Sabbath. It was a privilege that they chose me to speak on their graduation day. And if I would have read their letter that they sent in asking me to do this, it would have sufficed for today's message. It was very moving and impressive of how grown they have become academically, and yeah. But I told them that I wasn't going to be up here to be nice, kind. As he said, tough love is all. That's what I'm about. So I'm here to make fun of them, really. It's just going to be a good time of jokes. There's a lot of comics out there. I'm just a better comedian. All right? Just saying. Israel, I remember the time you had started this twisted thing with your hair. You remember that? It wasn't long ago. Yeah, you're trying to say you forgot here. I don't know what I'm talking about. Lydia, where do I even start? I'll save yours for later. But no, in all realness, everything that they have said, I'm just going to be reiterating. There's nothing new. They covered everything that I had in mind to talk about. So, yeah, I had put up a first slide. It's a word I can't even pronounce. I don't know what it means. I just put it up there for Israel because he's always trying to one-up me, saying that I have no vocabulary. So that's for him to explain and define for me later on. So, did you see it? Okay. There it is. You got it? Cool. I didn't put Andrews Christian Academy class of 2023 because they defined that, but you'll let me know. Anyway, next. So we're going to be looking at definitions real quick. I'll try not to take up too much of your time. You've already been here 4 hours. I can see some of you are hungry and the timings are turning. So I'll speak fast. I'll make it quick so we can get a move along to enjoy these graduates. But speech, first things that comes to mind for me when I think of speech is, well, you have to think. There has to be some kind of thought process going on in your head there, or your brain. And a lot of the stuff that feed those thoughts are noise. Noise meaning anything around you, the things you surround yourself with, the things you're doing on a daily basis. You might be at work, you might be at school. There's always some type of noise. And I'm familiar with noise. Or the laughs we were talking about with the girls, high pitch and so on. We got a lot of noise, right? So there's always some type of noise. But nonetheless, in all seriousness, everything that we put effort into, whether it be shows, TV, whatever we surround ourselves with, whatever we feed our minds is what we're going to be thinking. And what we think is eventually what's going to be coming out. Those are going to be our speech. It's what we say on a daily basis. The dictionary defines it as the expression of or the ability to express thoughts and feeling by articulate sounds. Israel, you know what that means, articulate? Oh, in any case, so you have to have that ability, right? It's something that you hold, something that's within you, and at this age where you are, you do have that ability. You have proven it with the speeches that you just gave over here, which were moving and touching. I almost even cried, believe it or not. You probably won't. That's okay, though. Next slide, if we go on to the next definition, conduct. So when this is brought up, the first thing I think is just the way we carry ourselves. Just the way, as I might be out of term because I'm always busy. I don't keep up with what's in, what's new, but I believe the term for you young people nowadays would be vibing, or, it's all based on how you feel or how the other person feels, or it's all about them and what their atmosphere is. And that will offset and kind of conduct the way you carry yourself in a way, right? So it's similar to behavior, basically. It's just the way you behave, what kind of behavior you have going on. And so definition there would be the manner in which a person behaves, especially on a particular occasion or in a particular context. And I can tell you some of these kids be acting a fool. The behavior was, ooh, man, we won't go there. So yeah, simple things, we all are familiar with it. We'll move on to the next one, which is love, I believe. So next slide should be love, and Lydia has already touched on that in her speech in talking about the fruits of the Spirit. It's one of them, and I think all the other kind of follow and fall under that. It's the big umbrella, and everything else just comes under that. That way I see it. So you have the joy, peace, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And I can tell you that everybody is in good, happy mood when there's joy, right? If you're happy coming into work, happy coming into school, it sets the whole vibe, it sets the whole atmosphere. And I can tell you that if Lydia is not in a joyous time, she don't even want to be around herself either, you know? And so that goes on to show that how we feel and what we're feeling, you know, it sets the tone on the rest of the day. It affects everybody else around us. Quickly there, the definition for love, as the dictionary defines it, an intense feeling of deep affection. We know it as God. God is love. Simply put, that's the definition of love. Definition of love is God. Anytime that you see these, whether you feel these emotions, these fruits of the Spirit, if you will, you are simply in God's space. That's when you ultimately are in God's presence. A lot of the times I know we live life on earth here is pretty tough to where, you know, anything bad that happens, you get angry, you want to punch a wall, you want to, whatever you do, you know, and then you want to start blaming God. It's not God in those moments. Because if God is love, and this is the umbrella of love with joy, peace, kindness, generosity, so on and so forth, then you need to realize that any other feelings that you have is not God-led. It is not, it's the opposite. And so try to keep that in mind, because life is not going to get easier as you move on. I believe Lydia mentioned that too. And so just try to remember the true definition of love. And when you have those, you have God. Our next word here, kind of get things moving, is faith. What do you think when you hear the word faith? For me, there has to be belief, there has to be hope, and trust. All right, so faith, those are some of the three big ones that come along with that. It's defined as complete trust or confidence in someone or something. The second definition was strong belief in God or in the doctrines of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. I wrote on there Hebrews 11, verse 1. That goes a long way of defining what faith is, I believe, right? We can look at it real quick if you guys like. If you have your Bibles, you can turn there. So Hebrews 11, verse 1. Now you guys are out there, it's like, oh, great, here we go. He's turning the pages. We're going to be here another 3 hours. And we're trying to go with our hunger. Don't worry, it's just one verse. And so Hebrews 11, verse 1, which reads, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. And no matter who you face or see, who you run into in life, no matter what situation you're in, no matter what you're trying to attain or accomplish in life, it's going to be based off faith, right? Because you may have an idea of a future that you have in sight for yourself, but you're not there. You have to work at it. You have to believe that you're going to get there. You have to trust that you're going to get there. You have to have that hope that that's what's going to happen. That's where you're wanting in life, what you are trying to attain, you have to have faith. It's defined there as complete trust, as we said, confidence in someone or something. And I would underline someone, and to make sure that someone is none other than God. Last one was purity. This one is a big one. Probably should be one of the ones way up high on the list of things that we should think and ponder upon. Because if all human had an understanding of this word and its impact, life on earth would be so much better. It would make so much more sense. But I see it's described many ways in the Bible. You had a pure animal that you had to bring, innocent animal that you had to bring a sacrifice, right? And you can go as far as the Bible talking about Mary. She had to be pure before she could conceive Jesus. And most definitely for us too, we're to take those examples and live that way as well, keep ourselves pure in all things. Definition of purity was freedom from, Israel, can you help me with that? I can't read. That word. No. But anyway, adulteration and contamination, freedom from immorality, especially of a sexual nature. A lot of the times, weddings, you'll see people wearing white. Each color usually has a meaning behind it. And when it comes to marriage, when it comes to somebody wearing white on that day, it is to represent that they're pure, that they're innocent as they go into this relationship. And we are to be innocent in our relationship, not just with each other, but also with God. Everything is to be, it could be a sermon of its own, but it has a lot of impact. It's very important that out of all things that we do, that we stay pure, true, innocent. So you're over here sitting, well, thanks, Robert, that's great. We just finished school, and here you have us sitting in another classroom type, defining words. What is your point? Can you get to us so we can, go eat some cake or whatnot? We chose you because you don't speak a lot, and we thought you would just make this quick and we would move on. So why? What's the point? It's the simple words that we use on a daily basis that we don't take the time to think about. We just say things rather than really, truly breaking down what it means. And some of the other stuff that we're going to be looking at are based off Ellen G. White writings. But those definitions are a part of your chosen verse for your class, right? And so don't let people look down on you because you are young. See that they look up to you because you are an example to them in your speech, in your behavior, in your love and faith and sincerity. All right? So why? Why does this matter? What's the point? She goes on to kind of talk about, which is very relevant today, there are many youth who move from impulse rather than from judgment. It's not just the young people, and when I talk about youth in this whole speech, if you will, it's all of us from wherever we are up into those of us who are 100 or beyond. We're all young, we're all under God's eye, His children, and so He's talking to all of us. But in today's time, today's world, it is just the impulse that's moving everyone. It is just impulse that we are making our decisions on. We're not taking the time to think, time to sit down and actually contemplate and go over what we just act. And that's very dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be. We just want to know what's next, what's the next thing, what's the next new TikTok dance or next challenge, or maybe there's some other new and improved platform that I don't know about even, but we're always moving on. What is this person doing? And are trying to imitate and copy them. And that's the life we're in, that's the times we're in, right? If you go to the next slide here, I had highlighted, there's a lot of good things there, but the section that says, seek those you know to be in danger, and in the love of Christ try to help them. How are they to know the Savior unless they see his virtue in his followers? Real quick, we'll move on. What it says here, the next quote, the highest aim of our youth today is to strain after something novel. There has been none of this in the mind and work of Timothy. They should bear in mind that the hands of the enemy of all good, knowledge alone may be a power to destroy them. It was a very intellectual being, one who occupied a high position among the angelic throne, that finally became a rebel, and many a mind of superior intellectual attainments is now being led captive by his power. The youth should place themselves under the teaching of the Holy Scriptures and wave them into their daily thoughts and practical life. Then they will possess the attributes classed as highest in the heavenly courts. And so, as we move on, as you grow, as you continue to evolve, or again, things that you're going to be wanting to achieve, a certain level you want to get to, don't be led astray, don't be confused, don't just strive for those things. Because as it says here, as we know it, Lucifer himself was at the top of the game. He was at the highest level that anybody can get to. But yet it is him, and it is through him, that the rebelness and the fall came. And so it's very important that we keep that in mind. Let's see our next slide here. You may be questioning yourself, okay, thanks, that's great. What does this have to do with the word that I presented to Israel and him defining later on, right? What does this mean? What does this have to do with anything? Well, we'll look at the definition. Okay. It will be the last one that we look at, so that way class is finally out. You know, you don't have to have any spelling words anymore or define this. But exemplary is defined as serving as a desirable model representing the best of its kind. It's similar to perfect, ideal, model, faultless, flawless, outstanding, and there are many more. The opposite, though, would be deplorable, unworthy. So Israel suggests that you make sure you have your papers all right and that all is good. I will close with this thought. Okay, we talked a lot about the whole point of defining this, the whole point of your verse that you chose is Timothy was being told to be an example to the young and old. He was a very young man, which being a young man in a grown man's world, you can be very discouraged, to feel not good enough, to feel that taking in what certain grown-ups may say to cause you to decide this isn't for you. But the verse you chose is to give you encouragement and let you know that if you're with God, if you strive for those things, that's all about Him. You are in every way right in your choices that you make as long as they're with Him. Nobody can bring you down. Nobody can say otherwise. And as humans, you are to remember this and take in mind that we are just that humans. We make mistakes. We say things that maybe we shouldn't. But staying connected with God will give you the strength that you need to carry on despite what the noise around you say or what you hear. And the thing about all of this, if you put it together, you have to think of yourself as being on a team. And every team has a jersey. On that jersey, you have two main things. One is the team's name up front, right? and then you always have that person's last name on the back or something, right? Okay, so with that, you have to know which team you're on, because that team name has a representation, as does the name behind. And so wherever you go, you're representing one, yourself and your family. Each person has a name and typically represents their family that they come from. A lot of people, I might have a different last name than my father, but when I am walking, it's more of, that is Bizumwami's son. It's not that's Habiyadem yet. They know me by my father, right, first and foremost. And so whatever I do, wherever I am, I'm representing Bizumwami. And so the team across our chest, or the name behind our jersey, is not that of our own. It's a God's name. It's his son who came and died on the cross for us. That's who we're representing. And the whole point of this verse, the whole point of the definitions is we are to be examples. We're to be examples for everybody else that we come in contact with, and to do our best in doing so. I can say that in the last month of school, there's other instances beforehand, but I could see that you guys as graduates were showing these attributes of being good examples, working hard, caring, being helpful, etc. So I know you are very much capable to a high degree of standing out and being the leaders and being the exemplary role models to your peers. No matter where you are, no matter where you go, just like you learned, if you guys remember at Music Fest, when Buell Fogg was speaking, his main message was, keep the first thing, the main thing, first and always. And the first thing and the main thing should always be God. And so if you can just remember that you are representing God, if you can keep him first despite the struggles you're going to go through, once you keep the main thing, all else falls under. They're now bored and not even paying attention, so I better wrap it up. When we are being corrected, even as adults, we are kind of offended at first. We have the tendency to just play defense. Israel has a pretty good look when you correct him or if you say something, right? And then a lot of the students have it too. It's out there, to where you say something and they give you a look as if they don't know what you're talking about. Right? That's Israel's favorite look. Like he has no clue, right? And then we talked about Lydia already. I won't pick on her anymore. But that's the message for me, really, is know who you represent. First person is your family you come from, and the other is God. As it was mentioned in the quote, how are they going to know your Heavenly Father if they don't see it off of you? You have to be that example at all times. So I will close there. We had enough about these students, at least I have. No, just kidding.
Let's bow our head for closing prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, it's been a privilege today to be here, to witness the graduation of Israel and Lydia. I ask you to be with them throughout their life, onto their next adventure, and keep them true in you. I ask you to be with each and every one of us today as we depart our church, and be with the people that are online that are sick. I ask you all this in thy name, amen.